Today I'll show you how to make a proper health bar in Unity. So the first we'll do to make a health bar is that we're gonna take this and create a war image under the UI. And this is gonna be have this health bar texture that I made. I'll leave a file to it in the description. Put on the texture and then you can set it to native size. So now it has the same size as the image resolution. Then you can just scale it down if you want, if you find it a little bit too big. So I'm gonna center this, and under this raw image we're also gonna create another image, and we are gonna take this image and we're gonna scale it along this bar thing. What we do is we click over here, hold down Alt, and in the bottom right corner you click. So now it's the same size as this image. When what we're gonna do is that we're gonna add something called a mask, and it will then make this color, this image, just have the same shape. So this is for design purposes, which is pretty neat. So okay, so what you can see is that the mask thing here, it doesn't look very even, and that's because the mask doesn't take like the alpha channel into perspective, so it looks kind of scratchy. Well, the way we can fix this, there does exist a library someone made called a soft mask, and we can add that package into a project. The way you do it, you click on here on the window, the package manager, and on this plus icon you click add package from get URL, and then I'll paste this, and I'll also just leave this in description, and then you click add, and then this UI soft mask will be added. Then what you can simply do, you can go onto this mask, click on the three dots over here and say convert to soft mask, and then you just click on this fix button and boom. Now it looks much nicer. You can also add more anti-aliasing, but that looks kind of weird, so this is fine. Okay, so this is gonna be the mask, I'm calling it, and this is the fill. Then we can create MG game object. I'll call this slider and add component slider. Then this is just gonna be a child to the slider, and this fill rect, we just drag and drop this fill over here, and then you can see it all being nice. Then we can also change the color of this, something like this. Okay, so now we have this slider thing, and the slider goes from the values from 0 to 1. You can also change it over here, but I personally prefer the 0 to 1. And I also want some text here up the top, because it just thinks that looks nice. So I will create an empty game object and just call it for text box, because I want to have some specific text. You go down, then you create some UI and use this text mesh pro, and I'm just gonna write 300 here. This text is gonna be named txt current health, and I'm gonna move it up here, around here. Yeah, this looks pretty good. And then you're gonna boom boom, and this one is gonna be the slash, and then name this txt slash, and then this is gonna be txt max health. I'm gonna move this to the side. Boom. And then I'm gonna turn this down a bit to like 24. And then I'm gonna line this up properly. So yeah. This is how I want my text to look. I'm also gonna make it italic. Okay. So this is gonna be our slider that's gonna present the health bar. Now it's just time to create a health bar script. So I'm gonna create a script and call it health bar and open it. Okay. And for a health bar, we are gonna need some variables for this. Well, we don't have a player script that controls his health, so we're just gonna make that here, just because that's the practical way. We just need some variables. Usually, the maximum health and current health wouldn't lay down in here, but again, we don't have anything else, so we're just gonna put it here, just so we can visualize it. So we need the two floats, maximum health and current health. We are also gonna have a reference to a slider, an image, and I'm gonna use, for this you need to be using the Unity engine.ui library I had just put in here. Then have a public slider. This is gonna be a health slider, and we also need to have use text mesh pro. So using TM Pro. So public text mesh pro UGUI. This is gonna be the TXT current health. Copy paste, and this is gonna be the max health. Good. Then this void start, I prefer it to be awake. And we're gonna set the current health to max health. We also want to just set the slider by default. We take the value and then we need to set it to a normalized value of the health between 0 and 1. I am gonna make a float function which can give that to us. So the float normalized health, and this is just gonna return current health divided by max health. So if we have full health, it'll be 1 and go down. And then we can just say normalized health right here. The reason why I make a function for this is because this line is going to be repeated anyway, so I'm just going to make a function for it. Then we're also going to take the text and set it to the current health, to string. And we're also going to format it. Since it's a float, we don't want decimals. We're going to copy paste this line and take the txt max health and make it equal to the max health to string. Good. Then the next part is that we're going to make a function to take damage. And I also just want my slider to get set while taking damage. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna make something called a coroutine. A coroutine is basically just you can see it as a secondary void update that gets run for a specific amount of time, and you can do some specific stuff in it. It's gonna make sense when it's done, but to make a coroutine, you need to make an I enumerator, call it take damage. This function will take an argument, a type float, and this is gonna be where we put our damage in when we call the function. For now, we're gonna have something called a yield return null, because then the function won't give us an error. And now we need to do a little bit of math. So first, we're gonna store the original health we had when we start the function. That's just gonna be equals to current health. And then we're gonna calculate the target health, which is gonna be the health we want to adjust our current health to. That's good. We also want our slider to adjust into a specific time frame. For that, I'm just gonna make a float called time to adjust, and for now I'm just gonna make it equals to half a second. I'm also gonna make something called time elapsed float, which we're gonna use for a while loop. Then we're gonna make the while loop and say while time elapsed is under time to adjust. Then we're going to take our current health and use a lerp function, and lerping is basically just as it is described here, linearly interpolates between 2 points A and B by an amount t, and 0 is the point A and 1 is the point B. Oh wait, 1 is the point B, and everything in between is from 0 to 1. So we have our origin health, and in here we're just gonna take our time elapsed divided by time to adjust, and this is how we're gonna set our health. Then we're also gonna set a slider value, and we're just gonna set that to health normalized health. Then I'm also gonna have a little if statement here that just checks if our current health gets set to 0, then there's no point in running this function anymore. So under or equals to 0, then we're gonna set current health equals to 0, and txt current health text is gonna equals to current health dot to string formatted to 0, and then we're gonna use something called a yield break. This will just exit the coroutine. Okay, then we can continue. So if this doesn't happen, let me just continue to the next line. So after we set the health bar value, then we can go ahead and take the text of current health. We can just copy paste this line, and then we're going to take the time elapsed and plus equals it with time.delta time. So when this reaches around 0.5, this will also be to 1, so this will be basically set, and then we will exit the while loop here. And we're gonna make the yield return null. This is very important in while loops in coroutines. If we don't use this while loop will be over in an instant. It's basically speed running it. But now we also don't need this, so we have in the while loop. Then after the while loop finishes, the current health wouldn't be set precisely to target health, so we just need to specifically set it to target health at the end. And then the txt current health, we just also need to set that at the end. Yes. And this should be basically it for like the minimal viable product. So now we're gonna test this. I'm just gonna take some input. So input.get key down, keycode.g, and I'm gonna start coroutine, take damage, and I'm gonna take 20. Great. When we go back to Unity, take the slider, drag and drop the health bar component. We're gonna fill this out. So on max health, I'm just thinking of 250. The slider, we're gonna add that. txt current health, we're gonna add that. txt max health, we're gonna add that. Good. And now we can test this. And this looks good. So the slider is going down smoothly. And is there any bugs maybe? Let me just check. No, it's good. Okay. Then if you want to polish this, there is some like make the health bar a little bit better. Right now we make the health bar slide down really smooth. You can use something called a smooth step. Like I'm gonna show an example here in GeoGebra. So yeah. Okay. So the value here from 0 to 1, that's where our health bar will be slided in. Right now, our health bar is going like this, just linearly going. But we can add an effect to it, which is called a smooth step, which is made like this. Let me see. Oh, boom. Okay. So this is the way we're gonna lerp now. So we start slow. When around this point, it's just gonna go as normal, but then it's gonna have a soft ending. So we're gonna have a soft start, soft ending, which basically just makes it all a little bit more smooth. The way we can make this is pretty easy. In the while loop, we can just have a float. I call it t for time, and we just take this time elapsed divided by time to adjust. Then we're just gonna add the function we just made here. You just take the t and make it use the t times ray minus 2 times t, and we want this to be seen as floats, so that's probably a good idea. And then you just replace this with t, and then you can see the effect right here. So now it's a lot more smooth, so that's nice. We can also, instead of having this time to adjust, have a specific value, because if we take small amount of damage like a 2, then we don't want this to take half a second. We can just calculate how long it will take. We can make a float and call it adjust rate, and I'm gonna make it 120. And then down here, we can just calculate the time to adjust is equal to the damage we take divided by the adjust rate. So if we take a lot of damage, it's gonna take a little bit longer, but if you take small amount of damage, it's gonna take basically none at all. So this is nice. I also want to have some color, like right now, our health bar is just one solid color. Yeah, well, you can see that worked. Well, I want the health bar to move towards red when it gets low, kind of like this. Like goes from green, yellow, maybe like this around here, and then red. The way we can do this, we just use something called a gradient. We're also gonna have a public reference to the image, fill image, and then we're also gonna have the gradient. I'm just gonna put down here, public gradient, and I'm gonna call it color gradient. Yes, now we're gonna assign this. So the fill image, we're just gonna drag and drop fill, color gradient. So at 100%, this is gonna be green. At 0%, we're just gonna take this. It has the same saturation anyway. Then just move it down to a red. Reddish. We're gonna have one in the middle, which is gonna be the yellow. Around this. This is gonna be a gradient color. So now we're just gonna need to set this up and work with the rest of the script. So we can just take a fill color and set it down here. So the fill image dot color is gonna be equal to the color gradient, and then we're gonna use the function called evaluate, which is just gonna calculate the color between the 0 and 1. And since it's 0 and 1, we can just use the normalize health function. And now we have set the color. Pretty neat. We can just copy paste this and put it down right here, and we can also set it right here. And that should be it. Then I'm just gonna take and say this is gonna take 60 damage, 50. And now it should be all nice. So yeah, this is the health bar, and it works nice. Of course, this the method I'm using isn't perfect, but I do think it gives a neat result. Like there are some problems. For example, if I press while it's looping, then we're just gonna override the last function. And when we override the last function, then we'll lose some damage. The way we can fix it, you can maybe just say, make a bool, set it to true here, it falls at the end, then it's technically immunity frames. But that technically isn't optimal. What we could also do, you can have a check that says, okay, this is running. You can just check if this is running. If it is running, you can just take the health it misses to normalize or set to, and then just start the same coroutine with the damage plus that missing health that didn't get adjusted for, and then just adjust it there. Then it just stacks up the more you go. But that's something you can do for yourself. I am just giving the building blocks for this. But if you did like this tutorial, then please subscribe. And also, if there's something specific you want me to do or show on how to make, maybe FPS, whatever, then just write it down in the comments and I'll try and do it. But this is my health bar tutorial, and I hope you enjoyed it. Goodbye.